Good morning, everyone. We will solve some questions now on electronegativity and polarity. First question, if electrons are shared unequally, so what kind of bond it could be? If the word shared means covalent, unequal means that the electrons are not distributed equally, so they are not in the middle, so they will go to either side. Okay, this means that it will be polar. Either side means that we'll be having poles, partial positive pole and partial negative one. Second, if atoms with great difference in electronegativity, if great difference in electronegativity, great means so high, so we are expecting the bond to be ionic, because we have said before, if the difference is more than 1.7, the bond most probably an ionic bond. 3. Non-metal atoms, usually non-metals have high values of electronegativity. 4. Here, this question is asking what is the correct order, and he gave you some atoms bonded like N with Cl, As with Cl, P and Cl. Okay, and he's asking what the type, what is the correct order. In order to know that, we need to find out the values of electronegativity, subtracting, and find which of them have the highest value. The difference in electronegativity, referring to the table of electronegativity, and I will write here the values of electronegativity. N 3, Cl 3 also, As 2.2, and P is 2.2. Values of electronegativity, here if you make N minus Cl means 3 minus 0, 3 minus 3 equals 0. So the bond is non-polar. As and Cl, 3 minus 2.2, it will be 0.8. So it's more than 1.4 and less than 1.7. So it's polar covalent. Here P and Cl, also 3 minus 2.2, it will be 0.8. So it stays polar covalent. So if we need to arrange them in descending order of their polarity, we'll say that here both of those have the same order, so we'll put them in the same order. Okay, and NCl has the lowest value. Here we are arranging in descending order. Question 5. Which of the following bonds would be the most polar without considering ionic? So we are just looking for the covalent ones. We have some formulas: MgO, NO, CO, OO, SiO, and ON. NO and ON, they are the same thing. Okay, first look up the values of electronegativities in the table. I will write them here for you. Mg is 1.3, O 3.5, N 3, C 2.5, and Si 1.9. Looking up the values of electronegativity difference, Mg and O, so 3.5 minus 1.3, it will be 2.2. Here, N and O, 3.5 minus 3 equal 0.5. C and O, 3.5 minus 2.5 equal 1. O and O, 3.5 minus 3.5 equals 0. Si and O, 3.5 minus 1.9, it will be 1.6. O and N, it will be the same thing, 0.5. Okay, the question was, he is asking which of the following bond is most polar. Most polar means has the highest electronegativity difference. Okay, let's calculate that without considering ionic. So we are going to ignore that one and then start to compare. I have found here that SiO is the highest polar. Question number 7. You have a question that NF bond is expected to be more polar than OF bond, and the question is true or false. Also, we should look up the values of electronegativity. N equal 3, F equal 4, and O equal 3.5. Difference in electronegativity between N and F is difference electronegativity equal 1. Here, difference electronegativity equal 4 minus 3.5 equal half. So the question was asking, okay, NF is more polar than OF, true or false? Yes, true. NF is more polar, and if you ask you to explain, you will say because the difference in electronegativity in NF is higher than in OF. Question 8. The most electronegative element is, okay, as you have been learned before, for the values of electronegativity, when we go in this direction, from left to right, the value of electronegativity increase. And here, as we go down, the value of electronegativity decrease. This means that the highest one will be at the top and right. So the element which is located here is the most electronegative element. This element is F, fluorine. I hope you understood now how to practice some questions on electronegativity and polarity. Thank you. I'm going to explain for you now the dipoles. If you have an element that is described as a polar, so the element should have dipole. What is the dipole? Dipole means that the element or the compound, the covalent compound like H and F, they have unequal share of electrons. So one atom is more electronegative and is going to attract the electron to itself more than the other atom. So the atom that attracts the electron to itself more will acquire a partial negative charge, while the other one, which has low value of electronegativity, will acquire a partial positive charge. Okay, finally, you should draw what we call dipole. Dipole shows the direction of moving of electrons. Those electrons are directed from the low electronegative element to the higher one. So the dipole will be drawn like this. An arrow showing the direction of moving of electrons from H to F. Let's have another example. I prefer to keep the electronegativity table beside you to be able to answer this question more effectively. Okay, let's see the dipole in P and O. If P and O are joining, the electron pair will be directed to the more electronegative element. By looking up the values of electronegativity, O has a value of 3.5, while P has a value of 2.2. So O is more electronegative. It's going to acquire a partial negative charge. P will be partially positive, and finally you will draw the dipole from P to O. Number 3. And last example, F and N. N has electronegativity of 3, F has electronegativity of 4. F is more electronegative, has negative charge, partial negative, partial positive. Electrons will move in this direction, and this is the dipole. Thank you.